I really can't think of a better reason to gather with friends and family than to watch men who will make more money than we will ever see run a ball around a field. I hope your team wins. Is it the Sharks or the Jets this year? I don't know. Who's favored? Tonight's the goddamn Super Bowl, and I've never understood it. It has never, ever since middle school PE, when they would get the larger, more athletic boys to throw a football at my face and tell me that if I just made a bread basket with my hands in front of my face, somehow that would stop like losing several teeth. Ever since then, I've had a real hard time just locking into that American spirit of football. It doesn't do it for me. And they'd be like, oh, look at that little queer's face is all bloody. And then the teacher would be like, yeah, look at his face is all bloody. It's really ironic because in retrospect, my face, to the extent that it did, my face did stop bleeding. I wouldn't say healed. Maybe that's too strong a word. But looking at the Facebook profiles from some of those dudes that made fun of me in middle school, I think they might be keeping something from their wives. See, we're 30 seconds in and we've already gone so many places. This is a Gribley's Folly Antisocial Hour, and it does happen to fall on Super Bowl Sunday, so you could say this is a super Sunday antisocial. In my legend, and I think this is the disposable legend. I've got 3 or 4 legends, and this one, yes, it's got the X on the bottom, came from the factory as a second. You guys can't see that. Hey, isn't that better? Don't you like that clarity of vision? Anyway, it's got the X on the bottom, and a factory second legend still smokes impeccably. And it, old limey bastard. This same old limey bastard I've been working through since like Halloween or whatever. And I'm getting sick again. It's 40 degrees and raining, which is better than 40 degrees and sleeting, which it was last night. Sleet is really a second-rate precipitation. It's not pretty like snow. You can't take pictures of it for Instagram likes, but it's just as, if not more so, inconvenient. And it's just unpleasant to be sleeted on. I'm sure it's more unpleasant to be like golf ball sized hailed on, but in the scheme of normal precipitation, I think sleet is the worst. And what's the best? What's the best precipitation? Fog? Is fog precipitation? It doesn't really fall. It doesn't make it a precipitate. I don't know. We need a meteorologist in the YTPC. Let's think of all the professions we really need. We should have a doctor, preferably an oral oncologist, in the house. We've got Tant. He's a nurse, but then is he even still doing his thing? What is the latest with Derek Tant? Who knows? Somebody give me the gossip. If we pooled our resources, I bet we could find an accountant. And there's a lot of machine shop guys. It seems like pipe smoking tends to correlate with people who like to be in workshops, woodworking, machining, making things with their hands. Basically, if you need to have an A-team montage and build some kind of crazy Godzilla-like robot contraption to beat the bad guys with like headlight-mounted machine guns, you need folks from the YTPC. I took my meds this morning. Thank you very much. I know what you're all thinking, especially you, Beard. Quite a brain dump was his comment on my last video. Yes, that's true, but I have learned that if I send myself a reminder to take my ADHD meds, I actually do take them. Did you guys know I was diagnosed. My kid, like, clearly has ADHD, but when we sent him, to be validate, for that to be validated, is that the word? Confirmed. Validation seems like, oh, I honor your ADHD. When we had that confirmed and the psychologist was going through all the stuff, like, yeah, can't focus on anything, generally hates people, doesn't like doing mundane tasks, would much rather get locked in a cerebral philosophical context than any sort of practical productivity. And I was like, yeah, that's normal, right? Aren't everybody, isn't it? Isn't it? Then they wrote me a script for a watered down meth, and now I'm much better. It's funny how comorbid ADHD is with people with brains like mine to begin with, and it makes you wonder, like, what is the underlying the underlying divergence in my neuropsychology. Like, what is it? OCD? Is it ADHD? Am I just an asshole? Like, what is the baseline difference between me and functional people? I guess we'll never know. But it's interesting to have your whole shtick reduced to a diagnosis, right? Because that's my whole thing, right? That's the Sunday Antisocial is lots of different ideas, kind of held together loosely, presented with energy and not much organization, right? So it's like textbook ADHD. I thought it was my personality. No, it's a disorder. Again, like football, right? We think it's a personality. A lot of people clearly think it's their personality. But those of us on the outside, we see this as like, maybe you should look a little bit deeper and figure out why you want to see these people on your team who you value so much give each other traumatic brain injuries as a career. Baseball, I like. Baseball was the American pastime before they realized there was more money in football. And so that's a sport, that has both athleticism and strategy, and generally does not lead to like aggressive dementia in your late 40s. Like that generally. I mean, I guess if you get clocked in the head with a fastball, you're probably going to have some issues. But that's not the norm. It's not part of every game. And also, I think that's why we don't watch it. We want to see people get hurt, right? That's why we watch NASCAR. We want to see the fiery wreck. If there's no wreck, you're just like, yeah, it's a pretty good race, I guess. It's fine. It's all right. Maybe next time. You know what? I have solved it. Okay, here's how we're going to bring baseball back as the American pastime. We're going to fire all the professional baseball players, and we're going to replace them with men like me, right? Do you really want to see some dude who likes to run around the bases? No, you want to see someone like me. Terribly overweight, debilitating osteopathic issues in my feet and legs. You want to see some guy who has never sprinted anywhere unless he was being chased by someone try to run around those bases. Even just the fact that you could see my face and my emotion. I don't need to wear the helmet. I could be a catcher without the grid thing. What have I got to lose? Look, you put me out there, right? And you're going to be entertained. No matter what happens, it's going to be fun to watch because I may not be fast. I may not be in shape, but I have a lot of pent up anger and I can hit things really hard with a bat. I can just hear the announcers like, oh, here comes Gribbly. He's going to make it to first. Not because he's running very fast, but because he hit the ball out of the park. But why did he keep the bat? What is he doing with the bat? Oh, shit, he's got a gun. Really missed my calling, fat MMA baseball player. Anyway, are y'all gonna watch this thing tonight? Like Rihanna is the halftime show. I'm gonna step on everyone's toes here because some people will not like the fact that I even take it here, like that I even bring up this aspect of it, and then some people will be very offended by the quality of my judgment on this. I've never found her that attractive. She's a very pretty lady. I'm not saying she's not attractive, but I don't understand. I do not understand why she is supposed to be the hottest woman on two legs. It's not. It's like football. I just don't get it. I think Super Bowl halftime shows are where careers go to die. Actually, even someone like Bruce Springsteen. I think he's had plenty of good material after his Super Bowl halftime performance. I watched it once. I'm if you don't know, if you're just tuning in, I'm probably the biggest Springsteen fan you will ever meet in your life. There are bigger fans than me, but you won't meet them because they're, camped outside his house in New Jersey. The point is, when he did the halftime show, it was not his best performance, but what is, Tempe, Arizona in 1979. I've got a poster from that same tour up here. That was in 80. So I think it was in 79. He did Tempe. No. So whatever. And so it wasn't his best performance, but more than that, there was like a glibness to it that I thought like belied how he really felt about doing the halftime show. Like yeah, I'm gonna do this, but like let's be honest about what this is and this American spectacle of like his whole deal, his entire career is like presenting a different kind of Americana, right? That Americana does not have to be the jingoistic Ronald Reagan stuff. It can be a more humble and hardworking look at American life. And but then he wrote about how great it was to do the halftime show, and I was just like, well, shit. The Who, the Who did the halftime show, and they didn't lead with Baba O'Reilly. You've got the golden opportunity to make the point that that song is trying to make, and you don't lead with it. You don't. It's got the best intro in rock and roll history, and you don't lead with it. Why? And then U2, you know, where Bono's like flashing the American flag in his jacket. Like, yeah, Bono, we know you have a place in New York. Like, you're not some unknown Irish dude, buddy. Like, you're Bono. Not that I had respect for Janet Jackson before, but the wardrobe malfunction back in what 2019, 10, whatever, however old that was. I think that was obviously theater, and the whole spectacle has now become obviously theater. And we're trying so hard to reinforce this monolith that we have to worship, that we've built for ourselves. Am I taking this too far? Perhaps I am overdrawing it. It's just a football game, right? It's just so if you are a Super Bowl watcher, I hope you enjoy yourself, even though I may disagree with your enthusiasm. I think that any reason to get people to get together and become fatter while we watch athletes perform feats of strength, I think that makes total sense. Okay, I'm going to quit pretending. To change the subject, let me leave you with a question. Do you trust the labels on your breaker box? Like, if you go down in the basement because you need to cut off a water heater, and you cut the one that says water heater, the breaker that says water heater, do you actually trust that that was labeled correctly, especially if you weren't the one that labeled it? Like, you move into a house and you have to cut off your water heater. Do you trust the previous owner? I don't. But the little thing that senses the electricity sniffer that I got at Home Depot for $10, that I totally trust. I totally trust that to tell me if I'm going to get killed working on something, if I put it next to something electrified and it doesn't light up. That absolutely sacred information. Unfortunately, the battery is dead, so I don't really know if the water heater is off. So now I'm in like an OCD spiral. Like, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. I hope you have gotten what you expected out of the Sunday Antisocial. My psychological problems on parade. That is what I aim to deliver. Enjoy your gladiator stuff tonight and keep the ends out for the ties that bind.